It is a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Welcome to KTN Weekend at 1. My name is Najma Ismael. Opposition leaders Kalonzo Musyoka and Moses Wetangula want Kenyans to hold the government to account over what they termed as runaway corruption on national tenders. The two court leaders have raised the red flag over the unscrupulous awarding of tenders for major projects. Speaking at a children's home in Seikuru, Kalonzo and Wetangula said that the opposition will put Jubilee leaders on their toes to ensure that Kenyans get value for the taxes they are paying. This comes just as President Uhuru Kenyatta has been put on the crossfire to name those behind the standard gauge railway tender fiasco.
And rise in glory in education. We thank Dr. Bishop Macarius, His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, and Excellent Madam Pauline, for sponsoring students and pupils in Mama Maria schools. May the Lord of mercy pour blessings on you.
Wote wa CORD, MPs na senators tutakutana Naivasha ili tuzungumze na lugha moja, kwa sababu ile kazi iko mbele yetu ni yenye umuhimu mkubwa zaidi. Ni ya kazi ya kuokoa Kenya hii, na Kenya bado haijaokoka.
Hata ile mlipigania ya ugatuzi, hawa magavana wetu, you can see Jubilee is employing every trick in the book to frustrate devolution. Mpaka sasa mnaona wanaita watu wa control of budget, churning out fictitious and false statistics about the funds they're giving to the counties. Kwamba wamepeana pesa, maendeleo haifanyiki, na pesa hawapeani, because we know it.
Maize farmers in Transmara are counting losses due to an outbreak of a viral disease that has affected their maize plantations, wiping out acres of the crop. Farmers say maize production in the district has reduced tremendously. More than 1 million bags of maize were produced in 2010, but for the last 4 years, the harvest has been dwindling. The farmers are now contemplating on how to control the disease, which is threatening to paralyze maize production in the region. Most farmers have started cutting down their crops as they don't expect to harvest anything. Some have opted to cease maize production and ventured into sugarcane farming.
Shenda panda tu, baada kupata mafuno unataka kufuna mahindi, unapata katikati kabla mahindi yaanze kubeba yale mtoto yake, unakuta sasa ugonjwa inaanza kufahamia, inaanza kuanzia kabla haijatoa mtoto, inaanza ikiwa tu mahindi kiasi, unaona mahindi karibu ikue, lakini kishatoa tu toa kichwa mahindi. Sasa ni watoto inabeba ugonjwa, inaua yote, hata hakuna kitu inasababisha, inaweza tuokoa, sababu hata wanasema dawa haiwezi saidia sisi. Sasa tunasema ile kitu na watu wa wakulima maamua waanze sasa kupanda miwa.
Yes, we had that challenge of the of that disease. We came with the minister. We visited actually Mulot some part of last year on the same. We already, as county government, have sent to get in conjunction with the national government. We already sent technical guys to go to the bottom of that disease, and we want to assure the public and the country that we are going to the bottom of it, and we are getting a remedy for that.
Farmers in the North Rift are looking forward to better production this season after the government assured them of adequate fertilizer for the planting season. NCPB Acting Managing Director Cornelius Ngeleche, who assured farmers that there will be no repeat of last year's hitches that delayed their planting season due to unavailability of fertilizers, said so far the Eldoret Depot has received more than 100,000 bags of DAP fertilizer, with the board expected to receive a total of 142,000 metric tons of assorted fertilizer. Distribution of the fertilizer has begun in various regions via NCPB outlets, and appropriate procedures have been put in place to ensure that small-scale farmers do not miss out on subsidized fertilizer, as has been the case in the past. Now, the visually impaired persons will soon be able to access internet services after the chairman of the Kenya Institute of the Blind, Martin Keat, announced that plans were at an advanced stage. He was speaking at the Sri Gadi Temple, where they received a donation of 500,000 shillings towards their programs. Take a look. We will be back with our story. Moving on, President Uhuru Kenyatta wants farmers to embrace modern farming methods to increase production while touring Asquest Farm in Athi River. The head of state urged those holding small and land to try new farming ideas and technology that will maximize their production capacity. His Agriculture Cabinet Secretary, on the other hand, vowed to promote the adoption of new farming methods. The Lower Eastern region will particularly be targeted where black cotton soil can be used to grow major commercial crops like barley and sorghum.
So this for a smallholder who only has 1 or 2 acres is a lot better than a crop.
Now, following the support of the controversial appointment of Francis Mudhaura by the Ameru leaders, the leaders are mending their relationship bit by bit. During the first of many stakeholders forums to be held in Nairobi, Mudhaura spoke widely on the LabSet project, saying that it is more than capable of handling the $24 billion project.
I will definitely do my very best to involve all the stakeholders, the Kenyans and the investors, to make sure that this project or these projects are implemented in the earliest time possible.
We have a lot to do. We want it to happen like yesterday, but there are challenges. I think people are talking about our need to work as a team, the leaders to work together. We are very conscious of that. Actually, the biggest political problem we have today is our deepening crisis in political leadership in Meru.
Now, the Kenya Union of Domestic Hotels, Educational Institutions and Hospital Workers, KUDEA, have challenged the directive by Treasury to ban government meetings in expensive hotels, terming it as detrimental to the hospitality sector. Through their Secretary General, Albert Njeru, they added that such a move may result to over 100,000 employees rendered redundant and lose their jobs. They are calling for the constitution to be revised in order to reduce the government's huge wage bill.
There's no way you'll be able to tell me that you're not going to go to Norfolk Hotel and you are going to go only to Hilton. And because this is where you have as an association. No. This country is a competitive country, and therefore we are calling for everybody. Whoever is an investor in Kenya should be given equal opportunity to compete, to have businesses for the services they are giving to the regular Kenyan and visitors.
In Kenya, homosexuality has been described as immoral and against African tradition, but homosexuals have defended their sexual orientation just as passionately. The question never asked, however, is how would you relate with a family member who comes out to say they are gay? KTN's Joy Doreen Bira reports.
My name is Eric Gitari. I am a homosexual in Kenya. I am a lawyer. I am 30 years old.
These are the words not many Kenyans and Africans would dare utter in the open, and even fewer would want to listen to. But Eric Gitari is bold and he's out of the closet.
By the time I was completing primary school and ready for high school, I knew, because I was at the ripe of my teen years, I knew that I wasn't straight.
High school is always challenging, but when you add to that challenges faced by a teenager with a sexual orientation society would rather not talk about, it is a nightmare.
I went to a boys' boarding school, and well, of course, I had the peer, because of peer pressure. I had my girlfriend, and sometimes you would write love letters to girls, but at the same time you have boyfriends, not just in your school but in other schools. It was difficult. People would taunt you because you thought there was something curiously suspicious about you. I had nicknames in high school, such as Tausi.
A lot has been said about gay people, but very little attention has been paid to what happens to a person's friends, parents, and siblings when it is known that that person is gay. When Eric joined law school to pursue his degree, he had to deal with peers questioning his personality, his friends and family pointing fingers at his body language.
Oh, there was always suspicion, you know? Yeah, I mean, you could, okay, people used to say you could tell. I mean, it's obvious. The way he talks, and you guys are like, hey, I think he's a bit gully.
Because of what people are talking too much about, I decided now to show it to your face. You saying that I'm gay and you say that gay people wear studs, I'll wear a stud. You think that gay people are very flamboyant in the way they dress, I'll put on red pants and shock you with colors.
It wasn't until mid-2013 that he came out publicly on social media platform Facebook. His coming out had grave consequences.
There's that nasty example where we wanted to go and get a haircut at this barber shop in 20th Century, 4th floor, and they told us they will not give us a haircut. There are friends who have blocked me and rejected me on Facebook, people I went to law school with. I've had cousins who have told me that I'm shaming the Tharaka County. I have been told that I am an outcast, that I am abnormal, that I am demon-possessed.
Sometimes he sits down and then he zones off, you know, for a while, and he comes back and he's all happy and, you know, but you can tell that there's something deep going on.
The million-dollar question we should be asking is it better for homosexuals to keep silent about their situation or come out publicly? And also, on the other hand, as a society, are we doing any justice by being homophobic? 23-year-old Dennis Gitari, Eric's younger brother, has had to deal with the vulnerability of his brother's sexual orientation.
At first, I was a bit confused. And I started doing some research. Then I talked to him about it. Yeah, so I've been understanding, and I must confess that I'm still understanding. Yeah. Like for me, I'm straight, I'm attracted to women. So it's quite hard to understand why a fellow man could be attracted to another man. I have friends, close friends, we still hang out, but they don't like the idea of my brother being gay.
Dennis also questions why, besides carrying the same DNA, his brother's orientation varies from his own. But Dennis maintains blood is thicker than homophobia.
Eric has been a big brother to me. He has always been there for me. And we have come from a very challenging environment as young children up until now. And we have been encouraging one another to move forward. And our relationship has just grown stronger.
His friends too.
I felt the urge to be closer to him more because I knew probably he'd be, having challenges, and probably a few friends would walk away. So I had the urge to be closer to him more.
We randomly sampled views of the Kenyan public on this question of accepting gays among us.
We'll hit him with a stone until dead. And that fellow, if he does that way, he will enter officially paradise.
Unless she's supposed to be my pal, that one I'll cut off everything because she might try something, you know. But if she's my sister, I have to. She's my blood sister. She's my family. That's her choice. I have nothing to do about it.
Ndugu yangu kama angekuwa na tabia kama hizo, okay, ningemchukulia uamuzi wa kumshauri ili achane na kitendo na tabia kama hizo, na kama basi atakuwa amekataa hata nielewa, basi huyo mimi nitamtenga kuwa asiwe ndugu yangu.
I am a child of God. That's
Kiama Mugambi has preached about sexual orientation at Mavuno Church and maintains that while it is against Christian values, the homophobic attitude towards the LGBT community does not represent the faith of a Christian life either.
They have questions about what God says about this. They have a deep longing to want to love that person but not know how to do it. The bigger question is, what is God's is God relating with his people, and how has he set out how that relationship is to be worked out and to be lived out? But beyond that, we are created to be social beings, to be in relationship with God, in relationship with one another. It is unfortunate when people are taken out.
That every human has a right to life is every bit as constitutional as it is biblical. However, the African continent is struggling with the pressure to balance this phenomenon with strict African traditions.
Well, we revisit our earlier story about the visually impaired persons who will soon be able to access internet services after the chairman of the Kenya Institute of the Blind, Martin Keat, announced that plans were at an advanced stage. He was speaking at the Sri Gadi temple where they received a donation of 500,000 shillings towards their programs.
One by one, the visually impaired and the partially deaf made their way to the Sri Gadi temple. They marched forth to His Holiness for blessings, and soon all the members of the Hindu community, Kenya Institute for the Blind, and the Kenya Society of the Deaf Children were united by the sights and sounds of performances from their own.
Have legs, but cannot walk.
Delighted, the spiritual leader said the forum was a clear indication that disability is not inability, stating that it showed determination by the disabled to take up duties and responsibilities. With appropriate hearing aids, close to 100% of the partially deaf children can access regular education in regular schools.
Assisting us with the valuable hearing aids and assistive devices for the visually impaired is a most welcome and a timely intervention against the problems faced by the hearing impaired and the children with blindness.
Both the visually impaired and the partially deaf persons have been neglected despite the immense potential they have to make a positive impact to the society.
We very highly appreciate the spirit of concern and attention to the less fortunate members of our great republic, which should be the best mark of humanity.
On the other hand, the chairman of the Kenya Institute of the Blind, Martin Keat, came bearing good news, plans to have cyber cafes for the visually impaired persons this year. This will enable them access information from across the world.
There is need for specialized hardware and specialized software to interface for the person and make them able to access the internet.
They received a donation of 500,000 from the Hindu spiritual leader that will aid in their developmental programs. Ian Wafula, KTN.
Well, let's now take a short commercial break. We will be back with more news. Don't go too far. Well, that's it on KTN Weekend at 1 this Sunday. My name is Najma Ismael. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.